What is up, everybody? I'm Joey Powell. Tommy Ashley is with me. This is a rare edition of the 40 Club here on InsideCarolina.com, and we're brought to you by Johnny Tshirt. Tommy, it has absolutely been quite a minute since we've done one of these, but if we're getting the doors open, the velvet rope lined up, and topping off the bar, then it's gonna be a good episode of the 40 Club here, and we have got one of the most unique stories in Carolina athletics history and Mr. Mark Maye. Tommy, are you prepared for this?
I am prepared. We were talking off air, and I told Mark it is so easy to talk to people when they're humble and just genuinely nice because we deal with a lot of folks in this industry that get a little bit out in front of their skis, get a little bit of headstrong and all that. And that's one thing the May family has never been, and they've never been those type folks. So this should be fun, Joey.
Well,
I
I tell you
appreciate
what,
it.
without
Thank
further ado, let's talk to the guy that everybody's actually here to hear. Because
you.
Tommy is as good looking as you are, and as awesome as I am. They ain't here to hear us. Mark Maye, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Hey, listen, thanks a lot. And hey, listen, yeah, there's not, I know y'all didn't have to do a lot of preparation for me. Hey, it's not much, not much needs to be done in that regard. But yeah, hey, listen,
Well,
thanks for having me on.
well, teeing this up, the main thing that we wanted to do today was talk to the guy that has the record for the longest touchdown pass in UNC football history, and that's really all we wanted to talk about, right? We weren't going to talk
Hey,
anything else
there
other
you
than that
go.
one pass. Uh,
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah, man.
I want to ask
Yeah.
you first before we get off to anything. How did you end up in Carolina's orbit? Like it kind of seems like your career came out of nowhere at a time when Carolina football was starting to creep up a little bit. But tell me a little bit about how you found your way to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, you know what? Guess when I was, just coming out of high school. I mean, North Carolina was really good, actually. I mean, we just I guess in 80, won the ACC. I thought 81, 82. I mean, shoot, guess I'm not so sure they weren't as good as really, what gets anybody, what gets in the country. And what was it? Guess 81, what gets so I went to a lot of the games up in North Carolina. What guess then I mean, once again, I mean, from the home state, and what guess what shoot guess it's an outstanding place, and guess that's really got comfortable there, and shoot guess I decided, what guess and like I said, what guess that we really, I think, I mean, my freshman year, I mean, we were what number three, what gets in the country, gets North Carolina football, I mean, we're really, what gets as good as anybody then. So yeah, what gets in a lot of ways, what gets, what gets it was an easy decision. I mean, the thing is, I mean, Coach Crum and them, they ran the football a lot then. So, what gets obviously wanted to throw the ball some, guess but he promised to change the offense some. And, what gets it, what gets I believed him. So anyway.
Mark, when you were at Carolina, you mentioned those early years. I mean, I was a teenager growing up. You guys, I mean, we're not that far apart. I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
got me a little bit, but
yeah.
Carolina played some big time teams then,
Uh,
and teams would come in, and you were a part of those rosters. Just talk about college football in the '80s compared to now. I think it's a lot
yeah,
more old school back then. You mentioned running the football, but what was it like playing college football without back then it was they bust your rear ends in practice. There was
they did.
a lot less of the feel good stuff, if I
Yeah,
say it
yeah,
right.
yeah. You know what? I mean, you're right, Tommy. I mean, there was a little more maybe hands-on practices somewhat. I mean, coaches, like you say, guess I think two a days. I mean, it was a little more, maybe longer. Guess that there's some more rules. I guess really in place for preseason, and I guess even during the year. But yeah, you know what? I mean, we were fortunate. Guess I remember, I mean, we always had like, I guess the LSU and I mean, Florida State on the schedule. Those are two of the out of conference my early years. There at the end, gosh, my senior year we played Oklahoma, who was number one in the country then out there, and and also Auburn, who was like, I think maybe 8 at the time, you know, had some chances in those games. Should have beat Auburn, or really, really very well could have, and have a very good game. But you know, I guess, and even Oklahoma was close. You know, I missed a post. I can really kind of see it right now. Randy Marriott was wide open on a deep post, and you know what, just underthrew it. So you know, I mean, we had some chance. But yeah, you know what, guys, it was fun to play those teams, and you know what, I mean, I guess it was just kind of the way, you know, I guess every year we had at least a rather, you know what, I guess a couple of the you know, I mean, maybe you know, I mean, the traditional maybe powers, you know, I guess the college football then, and you know what, shoot, guess I thought we matched up fairly well for most of them. You know, had a rough night down at LSU my junior year, but you know what, yeah, we played pretty well against them actually. So.
Yeah, I thought it was, from a fan perspective, seeing, you know, Oklahoma come to Chapel Hill, LSU came to Chapel Hill,
Yeah,
Florida State, not in the conference, came to Chapel Hill, Auburn came to Chapel Hill. I remember standing on the sidelines when you guys were playing Auburn, and I can't remember what year it may have been 88, and you were already out of there. Anyway,
87. No, that was 87. That was my senior year. Yeah.
Yep, you're right. And Pat Dye is just standing over there talking to us because
Yeah, really.
we're the only
Yeah.
people wearing Carolina blue,
Right.
watching his team warm up and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
when I mean, you had a successful career at Carolina. Injuries were always an issue. And you mentioned to play against Oklahoma. Do you remember the pass to Marriott against Clemson?
I do remember that play. You know what? Because I kind of threw it out there. I mean, we were down, and obviously, you know, I mean, time was running down. I know I had a post. I just kind of, you know, I mean, winged it out there almost as hard as I could. I really didn't see what happened. You know, I just knew that, you know, it was kind of bang, bang, just kind of one of those things. You know, looking up, you know, I guess really afterwards, I'm not even sure what, you know, I mean, with the film and all, it just kind of bang, bang went between them, and you know, having to hit Randy right in the chest. But
Yep.
yeah, you know what, I guess that would have been a, you know what, because it's obviously a big play, but you know what, you know, the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, we were already halfway over the fence. I'll go ahead and tell you.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah,
to
yeah.
storm the field on that because Clemson was near the top. Anyway, go ahead, Joey. I'm just reminiscing about old school stuff, man. That's always
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's actually a really good segue, Mark. One of the things I think is been unique to see, and you've lived both sides of this. You were the first player in Carolina history to throw for 400 yards in a game.
Really?
And I think we think about statistics right now, and we think about how the game is played right now. What do you see, or how have you seen the evolution go from a game like Tommy said earlier, where there's a lot of running, there's a lot of knocking the bleep out of somebody, there was a lot of real ground and pound type ball. So now it's almost like basketball on turf. Like, what has that evolution been like for you as a guy who did a little bit of both, and again was the first guy to throw for 400 in a game at UNC?
Yeah, you know what? You know, I mean, you know what? It's been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you know what? Guess as a quarterback, you know, guess a lot of us old quarterbacks always used to say, "Man, you know what? Guess I wish I played today." You know, but the thing is, I wouldn't have been running many read options. You know, I'd have been giving the ball off a lot. But yeah, you know, I mean, just throwing the football. I mean, you know, shoot, guess really the games, you know what, I guess in the quarterback's hands, you know, for the most part, the whole game. And, you know, really seems like a lot of fun. And then, you know what, I guess having a son to be able to go through that and to, you know, I mean, be able to play in those offenses is, yeah, you know what, I guess, I guess it's a lot of fun to watch. And like I said, you know, I guess in a lot of respects, you know what, I guess I wish I would have been able to, you know, have an opportunity to run with this offense where you're throwing maybe 40 times a game. In high school, we threw it, I think, really probably, you know what, I guess about 19 to 20 maybe times a game. And that was a lot, you know, really back then. Whereas now, you know, I guess it's easy, you know, for teams to throw 35 to 40, you know, pretty much all over. So, yeah, I guess, you know what, I guess, things have changed, but, you know, I guess in a lot of ways, you know what, I guess I'm glad, you know, we guess an in particular for Drake, right? It's a lot of fun for him.
What's the biggest thing that jumps out to you as a guy who played in a different style, and now when you come to practice and see how, you know, how practices are and see how the offenses have has evolved? Have it? I'm stumbling now. Has it been kind of a stark contrast to you, or were you just immersed in it enough with your boys to kind of, it was gradual that way too? Did you see, you know, something where you were standing at a practice, whether it was in high school or you know, when Drake got to UNC and you were just like, man, this is just night and day different than what I played?
Yeah, you know what, I guess like you said, you know, because, you know, I guess I was around, you know, I guess I helped coach a little bit afterwards. I was kind of volunteered, that kind of thing. So, you know, I was a little more involved, really kind of seeing the evolution. So maybe not as much about, wow, you know, this is a lot different. I mean, when you look back on it, you know, like we're talking about, you can really tell, yeah, you know, shoot, guess it. I mean, you know what, guess I was hardly ever, you know what, gets in the shotgun, you know, but really just there for like maybe the 2 minute drill, you know, guess it. But now most everybody, you know, guess it, they're very, you know, I mean, rarely, you know, what gets it up under center anymore. So yeah, you know what, guess it, yeah, you know what, guess it, you know, guess it's amazing, really, you know, we could kind of, you know, guess how times have changed and you know, shoot, I just got better athletes, made it a lot harder on the defense to spread them out. And you know what, I guess some of the offensive concepts. Now that's the one thing looking, you know, I mean, back a lot of times, you know, I guess I'll maybe watch, let's say, I guess the clip from one of my old games. We're always in the same formation, you know, basically the tight end, two wideouts. I mean, one on each side and lined up in the eye. You know, I mean, that was, you know, there wasn't, you know, very much, you know, I mean, really changing of offensive formations. I mean, you know what, guess when you look back on it, you know, it's amazing really how simple it was.
That's a great point there. We're talking with Mark Maye on an edition of the 40 Club Inside Carolina's show that where Joey and I look back and pull some of the famous Tar Heels out to talk about their time at North Carolina. Mark, let me turn to your boys and let me ask a question.
Yeah.
How did you lose one to Florida?
You know what, you know, I mean, Cole really, there to be honest, you know what, guys, so they now with everything, the recruiting so early in high school. I mean, they begin to look at guys in the 8th and 9th grade, and you know what, I guess it was after I guess Cole's really sophomore year, really that summer. I think North Carolina was looking at him a little bit. You know what, they weren't really as maybe interested as some of the other schools yet, and it just so happened that Florida liked him a lot, you know, I guess, and they just, you know, and really, you know, I guess at the time they were as good as anybody, you know, had a really good pitching staff, and you know, they kind of sold us on the fact they needed a left-hander. So, you know, hey, shoot, guess I told him, hey, listen, you know, I mean, whatever you like to do, you know what, shoot, guess you know what, guess I mean, there's obviously a good place, and so you know, guess that he said, hey, listen, you know what, guess I'd like to go down there. You know, it just never really worked out for Cole. He never, they're developed really their velocity wise from his sophomore year. You know, he was almost throwing about the same, really their velocity, and really down at Florida. I mean, they had a lot of pitchers, you know, that were throwing, you know, 90 plus. So you know, I guess it was tough for him to get on the field down there.
Well, he was part of a national championship team, as was certainly Luke.
Yeah.
You got baseball, you got 2 basketballs in Luke and Beau, and then Drake finally fulfilled the football prophecy.
That's right.
Well, as a football guy and as a dad, watching your sons play sports, but not the sport you played, and this is before Drake got there.
Right.
And Drake could have played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that as well.
Yeah,
But just watching your sons on the field in a different sport than you did, what was that like as a father, as parents, watching that?
Right. Yeah. You know what, guess it was a lot of fun. I mean, growing up, you know what, guess I played all 3 sports through high school. So really, my favorite sport was basketball, and really, really probably like baseball really just as much. I mean, my favorite thing to do with all sports was pitch. So, you know what, I guess it's been, you know, I guess I spent really, you know what, I guess a lot of time around a lot of the things sports. It was, you know, real lot of fun, and guess it actually with the boys, all of them played really, you know what, I guess all three sports, you know, I mean through middle school, and you know what, I guess I think Luke was dying to play football in high school. You know, I guess Luke was a good quarterback, and you know, I guess I told him, hey, let's hold off your ninth grade year, and you know, because it was really, I guess, almost the same size he is now. You know, I thought he might have continued to grow, and so you know, let's see what happens. Guess if he's still mad at me about that, you know, and you know, I guess, and then Drake would have played baseball also. You know what, really, you know what, I guess in high school, you know what, I guess he was a shortstop and he pitched, and so you know, shoot, guys, so we were around them all. You know what, that's just kind of what we did. You know, who was really from football to basketball to baseball around here with all really there with all three of them. Oh, you know what? I mean, it's all four of them. See, I'm saying it too, but um, yeah, you know what? Shoot, guys. So we had a lot. You know what? Guess had a lot of fun. You know, because I was fortunate enough to be. You know what? Guess involved with coaching a lot within the team. So you know what? I guess hey, you know what? I guess it was a great experience.
So a lot of questions can spin off that. And I asked Drake this question when we had him on the Players Lounge earlier in the summer.
Yeah.
Who was tougher on him or on all of your boys growing up? Was it you or was it their mom?
Oh, you're gonna get somebody in
Yeah,
trouble now, Tommy.
yeah. You know what? I mean, tougher and like, you know, I guess I'd probably say, you know what, I guess MA was more of a constant, maybe kind of day to day. You know, I'm not really on them, but you know, I mean, just kind of making sure, hey, listen there, you know, I mean, we're making sure we do the right thing here. You know, I mean, like one, you know, I mean, clean up after things, and you know, I mean, re- really just kind of live, you know, maybe day to day in a lot of ways. You know, I guess I would probably get the maddest at them with some of the big things. I would say, you know, every now and then I'd have to get involved, but like, you know, I mean, something that we had to get a little more, I mean, had to come in with a little more maybe force on them. You know how it is with boys, but yeah, you know, listen, they were good, and you know what, shoot, you know, I mean, you know, you know, we've been real fortunate. I guess that you know they've been a lot of fun, and they really listen to mom really well for most of the time. So it wasn't that hard.
Mark, I think one of the things about being a dad is kind of towing that line of being a role model and being somebody who your kids can look up to. But then also you're a human in and of yourself, specifically when you've played at sports at the highest level like you have. How do you toe that line between being that good role model and and then just flat out just being a fan and trying to temper that competitive nature that you had to stoke when you were your kids' age? I mean, folks see you at the Smith Center, they see you at Keenan Stadium, being a fan, but also how do you toe that line of being a fan and still being a role model for your kids?
Yeah, well, you know what? I guess I think along those lines, you know, something that I've often, you know, I mean, thought about later on here. You know, I guess as I've gotten older, you know what? I mean, we've, you know, one, you know, I mean, to Tommy's point, you know, I mean, we want you to be, you know, humble, and you know, I mean, and also they were polite, but also on the field, a lot of times you really need to flip a switch, and you need to be the, guys will always really talk about here, you know, being the toughest guy, you know what, you know, really the toughest guy, you know what, I guess on the field, no matter what you're playing, and you know what, really kind of, a part of my friends won't take really any crap from anybody once you're between the lines, you know, there, you know, so that's been, you know, I guess I look back on it, and you know what, I guess you just want to, you know what, sometimes, you know, that's a fine line, I think, you know, and that's something that's really hard, you know, because obviously sports were, you know, I mean, we spent a lot of time doing sports, and you know, I guess that, you know, I guess even this day, what, guess you don't want to, I almost hate to say it, you don't want to be too nice, right? You know what I mean? All the time, you gotta, walk out there with a lot of confidence, and you got to feel like you're the baddest guy out there. So, that was a little more maybe, where obviously, I mean, we try to, I mean, go to church, I mean, that's important, I mean, with my family, and faith and all that. And then, go the next day, we're saying, hey, listen, we walk between the lines now, till we're wearing that guy out right across from you, because so that's something that's always, that's interesting. I'm always like to watch a lot of the guys, whether it be, I mean, pro or whatever, kind of just how they handle that. You know what I mean? On and really off the field.
So, what are some things that you and their mom tried to instill in them? You mentioned their faith, but I think something that's common, and I haven't interacted with Cole, but one thing that's common in the three boys that have come through UNC is that, like Tommy said earlier, they're all really humble, but they all have really good value sets, and they all value being somebody off the field. They all value being involved in their community. They value how their teammates see them. How did you guys instill that in them? And when did you start working on that? What were some ways that you guys did that when they were kids?
Well, I mean, guess like y'all mentioned earlier, what, guess really AMA has been great. You know what I mean? Guess she's a very guess she's a wonderful mom, and what, I'm a wife also, but she's been really, what, gets involved in a lot of the, I mean, with having four guys and then really five guys, she says she has to take care of. Guys said that she, on a day-to-day basis, really did a nice, I mean, job about, what, guess, and also with me, what, I mean, we like to treat, what, guess, really, really, what, guess, instill, hey, what, guess, what, guess, all people, I mean, no matter, I mean, what walks of life or, I mean, from what background, you treat them like you want to be treated, and, just have respect for everybody, and, got to be thankful, what, I mean, we're very blessed, I mean, what, I mean, we live, what, guess, what, guess, what, guess, in a great country. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but, what, we're, you're really fortunate, I mean, with our family. So, what, guess, what, just have a lot to be thankful for, and really, what, guess that, what, guess every day, I mean, do the best you can to be the best you can be, and what, whatever it be at the time of school, and I mean, working with your sports, and also to just being a good human being. And so, I mean, guess I think the guys have, I mean, really for the most part, that have kind of, I mean, listen to that, and I mean, we all have our struggles, I mean, from day to day, but yeah, what, guess that, what, guess I think that they really, what, guess adhere to, I mean, what we've talked about. And so, hey, like you said, I mean, y'all are parents, and so, hey, you know how it is. I mean, shoot, you just really try to do the best you can with them, and pray, and what, shoot, guess it, and what, guess it, really just enjoy them, guess it. So, I wish I had a couple more kids.
I'm sure UNC fans would agree with you.
Yeah, well, the thing is, how it really is with the guys. What, I guess it's a lot easier for us than the wives. They got a lot easier for us.
Well, as a child of with two brothers, my mom was an angel to raise four men. Three boys and my dad, and then currently I have two boys, so there's three boys, and,
Awesome.
and my wife is an angel to deal with us. So I certainly know where you're coming from, and those two women in my life know where she's coming from. So it's a interesting thing to have a house full of young testosterone all the time. But anyway, let me ask, turning to Drake a little bit. His competitiveness is one of the things his teammates talk about. And it's pretty clear that when you come from where he came from with you playing high level, she's competitive, but also having to be the little brother and all.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, he's very humble. When you watch him play, are there moments when you sort of cringe, or are there all moments where you're proud? You you talked about the competitiveness between the lines. I don't think there's anything more that we can say about Drake there, because he certainly brings that. How was that to deal with, though, as a parent with 4 boys? Because I'm sure they fought all the time, didn't they?
They fought, yeah, they fought a good bit. You had a lot of wrestling. Fortunately, with Luke being the big brother, and obviously Luke was really big early. So I mean, he could have been a real problem for him. You know what I mean? 'Cause he really kind of set the tone for not being that really kind of big brother to beat up on everybody. But I mean, with Drake, I honestly think the thing, guys, really kind of back to the thing. I mean, you want to be nice, you want to be humble, but at the same time, you really, guys, once they're on the field, thing I like really, I mean, Drake the most out of my kids is, what Drake in a lot of ways, I think he is the most competitive. I mean, we always talk about around here, what guys said, honestly, what guess it is about winning. We play little games, whatever, and we obviously have the first loser mentality, that's what second is. And you know what, guys, the thing I actually kind of like about Drake is Drake, loves to win, and Drake doesn't mind just wearing you out. Like if it's 50-0, or guys said that, out basketball, if he's up 9-0, I mean, I guess he's gonna beat 12-0 and not feel bad about it all. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess that's just the way it's supposed to be. Luka, a little more, might not just drive you right in the ground. You know what I mean? I guess Drake will drive you in the ground and not feel bad about it. And gets and the thing is, and really, I like that, right? I mean, that's what you want, and yeah, I guess that's shoot, guess that's a really, really kind of good quality, I think, to have, and shoot, guess it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, it's caused some problems. I mean, actually, Drake really kind of growing up was the one that really kind of taught the most about, guess, I mean, was really the most confident. Funny enough, he's not. I know now, he kind of tempers that, but early on, he was always the one saying, what, hey y'all, what, I'm giving the older brothers a lot of mess. Like he was 9 and what Luke was 14 or so. He was always, saying some stuff to Luke. I'm like, wow, Luke, probably a lot of big brothers would have probably worn him out, but so yeah, I guess that's been a good thing for really him to be the youngest. I think he had to really kind of learn, hey, shoot, I'm gonna have to be ready to bring it in the whatever backyard basketball game, because he was also the smallest. Guys said that really, really he did not, grow as fast as far as size wise. Good. That really probably helped him in a lot of ways, because he was playing the point guard. He was playing, I mean, shortstop and all that thing, because he moved well, versus Luke kind of being the biggest kid, or maybe Beau, they put you underneath in basketball automatically, right? I mean, played the center, and you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess it really benefited.
Mark, before I switch directions real quick, can you think of one instance where all 4 of your boys were going at each other and you thought, all right, you're either their mom were kind of like, all right, this is it. This is the one that's going to bring the house down.
You know what? Not as much wrestling, and really kind of around here. I mean, they kind of get to mess around. It was a little more really, gets in a competitive environment when they're playing, where some football out in the backyard, and it's maybe 2 on, maybe 2, and it escalates into some, I mean, pretty physical tackle. They're supposed to be doing touch, or or I guess even as of like last year, they like to play the game in the really backyard here, the basketball, the one-on-one, really kind of, really king of the court. And, because I always used to really tease, I mean, Beau and Drake, because they were the ones a little more contentious relationship sometimes kind of growing up. I said, listen, if y'all play like that, what, guess in your high school games, I mean, y'all be the best player out there, every night. So that was when, you know what, because I had to be the referee and just make sure, you know, things didn't get way out of hand because, you know, just didn't want anybody to get hurt.
Tommy, I can think of one thing that has been in Chapel Hill about as long as the May family legacy has been, and
I know where you're going.
that's Johnny Tshirt. Johnny Tshirt was even in Chapel Hill when Mark was around, and we
Yeah.
appreciate them sponsoring this show. Johnny Tshirt is right there on East Franklin Street. They have all of the UNC gear that you can think of, whether you have a son that plays basketball or baseball or football, or if you've got daughters that play lacrosse or volleyball or what have you. Johnny Tshirt has your gear. Inside Carolina premium subscribers know that they get that extra 10% off the top if they use the code found on the premium message boards. We appreciate Johnny Tshirt sponsoring this episode of the 40 Club and also all of IC's content. They're big supporters of ours. Mark, a couple more questions before we let you get out of here. I know you've got a big day ahead. We're talking with Mark Maye, the paterfamilias of the May family and head of the May family legacy. What was recruiting like as a guy who had gone through recruiting yourself? What was recruiting like for having essentially four different boys who went through the process? How was your view on that, and what was your involvement with it? And then what maybe was different when they did it versus when you did it?
You know, I mean, because the first thing, you know, I mean, the biggest difference was just that, you know, what I guess really how early things are now. You know, like I mentioned, baseball. I mean, you know, 15 years. You know what I mean? Because after ninth grade year, you have a lot of guys that I guess are they committed, and even I mean, with I mean, the rest of the kids, you know, what go with football. I would, I mean, Drake, more a lot of times with quarterbacks, I mean, you like to sign early just because sometimes you like to think that one, you like to get a spot, you know what I mean? Whereas with when I was coming, I mean, through, honestly, there weren't hardly any, what I guess really early commitments. I mean, you'd be recruited all through actually they're your senior year. I mean, you make your 5 visits. I mean, really, what guess so we had to work to get in, I mean, guess so, I guess really even several visits for some of my kids, what really going through and like, got a couple of them, but didn't hardly make any visits because they just decided to commit, I mean, with official visits I'm talking about. So,
Yeah.
What guess the things are really I mean, the whole process has been pushed forward a lot, and I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, to be honest with you. But what, guys? But as far as actual recruiting, I loved it. You know what, guys? You know what I mean? Because I'm way too hung up on really ball. Baseball, basketball, football. I mean, golf. I like watching tennis. So, you know, anything you get me around, to have an opportunity to go to these places, meet coaches, and get see programs, and really just meet people. Also, hey, listen, what I mean, guys, I loved it. Just all of it. I mean, with all the kids, and some of it was at really kind of various levels. I mean, Luke's recruitment. I mean, guy was really kind of solid, but I guess that he wasn't being recruited by everybody with Kentucky or I mean Duke. I mean, had some good offers, like I mean, at the time to Virginia and I guess at Iowa State. Some people. I mean, but it wasn't at the top. Whereas I mean, Drake was really I mean, really kind of different in that respect, and that Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, North Carolina, all those places, they want really Drake was their number one guy. You know what I'm saying? So what, I guess it was just a really kind of different experience in really some respects. But hey, what, I guess it is a lot of fun.
I don't want you to like stay specifically or specific schools. We all know Drake committed to Alabama and then ultimately flipped to Mac Brown in North Carolina. But were there times during the recruiting process, whether it was Drake's or Luke's or Cole's or Beau's or whatever, that you just said, man, this is kind of ridiculous? With the amount of money they spend, schools spend, and all that kind of stuff. Was it just like overwhelming at times?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, yeah, you know what? I mean, not really. You know what? That's a good point, Ty. You know what? I guess I think sometimes recruiting can maybe. I mean, I mean, guess I think the MA sometimes she'd be the one sometimes that have the mail, and she said, "Oh my gosh, like maybe Clemson will send something every single day." You know what I mean? Whereas you say, "Oh my gosh, are they doing this day?" That's just the way that and guess it, but no, you know what, guess it, there wasn't really, guess anything that was like, wow, that's really, really over the top of us. Guess we never really had that experience. That may happen with some of the, I mean, guys out there, but or ladies, but really nothing that exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were used to it, right? You'd been through it
Well,
and all.
yeah, well, I don't know about you, but I mean, kind of, she had an idea of what recruiting was about. But yeah, like I said, we really, we got met a lot of wonderful people, and you know, coaches with, got some baseball, basketball, and football, and so went to a lot of schools, but what, you got very happy, I guess that the kids, because I mean, three of them at least, what, I mean, chose North Carolina and they love it. I mean, nobody's better than Coach Brown. I mean, Coach Brown is just unbelievable with recruiting. I mean, guess even with you mentioned the thing at Alabama when Drake's committed, Coach Brown continued to stay in touch with Drake, and I mean, Coach Brown is his favorite head coach. So, I mean, we're all just I guess the loose experience, I mean, Coach Williams, I mean, with the basketball, I mean, really, really, what, I mean, that was just awesome, right? I mean, come on, I mean, because who would have thought, with how that began, just how it worked out. Now, I thought Luke would be fine, because you never know exactly, there are a lot of variables, I mean, just as you go through. So, I guess the Beau's loved it there, and what, I guess that he loved last year having an opportunity to play with Hubert. So, she could have been very fortunate. North Carolina is a really special place for all of us. Obviously, my wife went there and me. So, just a lot of, I mean, great people. And hey, listen, we just, I guess we're excited that, that the guys are there this year again, excited for the season. So, fired up.
Well, it's a great segue. We got two more questions. We'll let you get out of here. We're talking with Mark Maye, UNC football letter winner, but more importantly for folks right now, he has now become the father of Cole, Beau, Luke, and Drake Maye. Mark, I want to ask you, what are your expectations for this year? You've seen a lot of practices. You've seen your son Drake develop. You've seen some coaches come in and out. What are your expectations for this coming football season?
I'm excited. You know what? I mean, I guess we're excited. I think everybody is around the football program. I mean, we got I mean, guess I know Drake is. I mean, guess I know the kids. I've just been around it. It seems like they've been, guys really seem to be working hard. I mean, they really want to, guess to have a great year as far as because they really want to. I think, I guess to have especially just when I've been around, every now and then I'll just go up to snap for Drake, like throw to some wideouts and I mean, some guys, but yeah, what, I guess I think the whole really kind of, what, I guess whatever the atmosphere, the aura around the, a team, I think confident, hey, so obviously, we have a big opener, but what, I guess every game's big, right? If, once you get into it, I guess about, no, I guess I've got some new, I'm Coach Lindsay, I mean, I guess, I mean, shoot, guess I think the world of him, I mean, Drake really likes him a lot, so, also we got some other guys, I mean, Coach Christensen, Coach Brown's hired him, I mean, guess that he's been great to have around, and also, Freddie Kitchens, and, I mean, Coach Clements on the offensive side, and, I know we got some more, guess that we, go add some new coaches to the defense side. So, hey, shoot, guys, I think, guys that, looking forward to it. Once you go, we had some, players that, I guess already, with some, talented guys returning. We were able to add some guys in the portal that I think are going to help. I guess on really each side of the ball, and shoot, guys, I think good foundation. You just gotta, shoot, you just gotta make some plays, right? See what happens.
Speaking of making plays, and Mark, this is my last question. It's a fun question. Pickleball and golf. Can the old man still keep up?
Oh yeah, come on, Tommy. Yeah, come on, man.
Well, I asked
listen,
Drake.
Hey, listen.
Drake said pickleball is your speed. I said, wait a minute, that's old man tennis. And he was like, no,
hey,
he gets heated.
Hey, listen, you know what? Drake and all of them are exactly right. They give me a hard time. I look like a two technique. But, I need to lose about 50 pounds, and they remind me of it, which I've told them to, but I seem to really, ignore their the harassment. But hey, pickleball is like I said, it's an old man's game. I literally can't move hardly at all. I got a bad left hip. I need to get fixed, some of that. But yeah, so you guys said I can hang with those guys. Pickleball and definitely golf. They're playing a lot of golf now, and I can hop out there and I can hardly put a tee in the ground at Tommy, and I beat them more times than they beat me. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. No, hey, listen, we have a lot of fun. Guess those are some of the most fun times. We just got back this weekend playing a little golf in the mountains. Actually, played a little pickleball. That's it. So, I am a problem to play with movement wise, but I'm all right. Yeah.
And everybody lived to tell about it. That's the most important.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's the big thing. Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Last thing for Mark Maye before we let you get out of here. Mark, I'm going to throw you a softball here. What is your most proud accomplishment as a dad of these four boys?
Wow. Talk about that, Joe. That's most proud accomplishment. I guess I can really say, and I think most, guess they may would agree, got a good guys, good people. I think at heart, care about people. They, guess that hopefully, they have a, really kind of foundation there with, like I said, faith is important to our family. I hope they, guess at least, I think they seem to have that. And, guess I think they really strive to, do well in whatever their, endeavor is at the moment. And, shoot, guys, probably, the biggest thing is, I think they're good to people, they the thing about, hey, we're all just living here, guess on this earth, and we just try to be, I'm kind of really kind of try to treat people like we want to, and I think they do a good job of that, for most.
Well, that's a heck of a way to go out, and we appreciate the father of UNC's equivalent of a royal family joining us today. Mark, you've been great. Appreciate you. Hopefully I'm sure we'll bump into you in the bowls lot or at a ball game sometime here really soon, but enjoy the rest of what you can get out of your summer, and we will look forward to talking to you sometime very soon here, whether it's on the 40 Club, whether it's on IC Live or what have you, but we appreciate you making time for us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, listen, guys. Hey, look, thank y'all so much. And like I said, y'all been really good to Drake, and guys, and the thing, the team, and shoot, guys said, y'all do a really nice job of what you do, and guys supporting that athletics. And hey, listen, guys, hope we have a lot of fun this year, into the football season. So thank y'all for having me on.
Well, for Mark Maye and Tommy Ashley, I am Joey Powell. I want to say a special shout out to John Siegley for producing and to Johnny T-Shirt for sponsoring. And until next time, we will catch you again here on either the 40 Club or another one of Inside Carolina's podcasts. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll talk to you sometime very soon.